Chapter 1. It's official. I've turned into a crazy cat lady. The horde of kittens at my feet is living proof of that. 7 kittens of all colors and shapes. I was told that they were all from the same litter, but even though I know it's possible, I'm having a hard time believing that. One ginger kitten has a coat so fluffy that his eyes were hardly visible underneath all that fur. A sibling, if it is indeed related, has barely any hair at all, looking very naked. I think it's supposed to be like that, but that doesn't stop me from thinking that someone should knit a blanket for it. Not me, obviously. The only thing I use knitting needles for is to poke out eyes. They're quite efficient at that. What am I going to do with you? I mutter, staring down at the kittens. They were delivered to me anonymously, with nothing but a bag of cat food and a handwritten note. A donation, they called it. I shake my head in disbelief. A donation of 7 kittens. Not exactly what I need just now. I've got enough to deal with without a bunch of furry fluff balls meowing for attention. Cats! Benjamin runs down the stairs, excitement written all over his face. All right, if I'm the crazy cat lady, he's reached an entirely different level of craziness. The deluded cat gentleman. I now leave all of the feeding and petting duties to him, although I do offer occasional cuddles. Not many of the cats accept that from me. They're proud animals, and because I understand their language, I'm not quite the same as a human petting them. With Benjamin, they can pretend to be nothing but fluffy animals, but with me, they have to prove how intelligent and kick-arse they are. Luckily, these kittens haven't learned that distinction yet, and they rub against my legs, vying for cuddles. They were delivered an hour ago, I tell Benjamin. Don't suppose you know anything about that? Other people wouldn't notice the slight twitch of his right eyelid, but I'm a professional. Benjamin? He shrugs. I told a friend that I was looking after some stray cats. Maybe it was him. I glare at him. You told a friend where we live? Don't look at me like that. He knows already. He's referred a few of our clients, actually. One of the kittens is trying to climb up my leg, and I gently pick it up, cradling it in my arms. Kittens, eh? I sigh. They're your responsibility. If you can't deal with them, I'll tell one of the adult cats, and they'll add them to their family. Benjamin grins happily. They'll want for nothing. As long as Meow doesn't want for nothing either. I warn him. Remember, this is still a business, no matter how many cats live in this house. We are not an animal shelter. I leave him to it, taking the kitten with me. She's a glossy black with bright blue eyes lined with silver. Unusual and absolutely striking. Do you have a name yet? I ask, but she's too young to understand. She can't be older than a couple of weeks, and cats don't develop the ability to understand me in human form until they're around 8 weeks old. I could shift, but I might have to do that soon, and doing it twice will take too much energy. I dread that shift. Not because of the shifting, but because of the conversation I'm going to have. With Ryker. The cat who isn't a cat, who's deceived me ever since we met. Granted, he never actually looked at me and lied to my face by saying, I'm Ryker, I'm a cat, I'm not a shifter. But it should be simple feline decency to tell a fellow shifter one species. He's been out of town for a couple of days, long enough for me to practice our conversation again and again. Still, I'm not feeling prepared at all. I've distracted myself by cleaning up the last of the healer's mess. We've destroyed their labs and research, checked in with the children who got poisoned and were given the antidote, and killed quite a few people. Lennox, Griffin, and I have become quite a good team. Luckily, we've been so busy that I haven't had the time to think about feelings, emotions, attractions. I'm going to avoid dealing with that for as long as I possibly can. Life is difficult enough without getting attached to people. Now that all traces of the healers have been eradicated, life will hopefully return to normal. I've got several contracts lined up. Good old assassinations. Nothing special. I'm glad. I won't do any more investigations anytime soon. Not after this experience. Of course, I'm happy that we got to help all those children, but I don't want to get involved in things like that again. Ever since starting Meow, I've been trying to keep a low profile, keep out of sight from the pack, but I'm afraid that this case may have thrown waves that I can't take back. Lennox is pestering me about making plans to attack the pack for selling children for experiments, but I'm wary. We're not strong enough to face them, even with Griffin on our side. 3 against 100 or more isn't feasible, really. I retreat to my office, the kitten purring in my arms. I sit her on my lap and take a look at my mail. The boring part of running a business. Bills, bills, and more bills. Mr. Kindler's brother still hasn't paid me. I made quite a bit of money during the investigation because the baddies kept leaving their cash lying around, but I rely on clients paying their fees. I'll send him one more reminder, and if he doesn't give me what he owes, I'll pay him a visit with my knives. I doubt he was involved in the poisonings, otherwise he wouldn't have wanted anyone to look into his brother's death. But I won't have any pity for him if he doesn't pay. There's one letter with a familiar symbol pressed into the thick paper. A snake biting its own tail. My mysterious benefactor. I've not heard from him since he told me that his granddaughter died. To be honest, I'm quite glad about that. I wouldn't know what to say to him. My condolences doesn't quite cut it. I open the envelope with one of my knives. This one was in a sheath wrapped around my lower thigh, and take out the letter. Ink stains are blotted all around the edges. I didn't think Mystery Man was the kind of person to send such an untidy letter. His clothes were always immaculate, all the way from his top hat down to his perfectly polished shoes. To whom it may concern. My father died 2 days ago. While going through his accounts, I found that he'd given you full usage of one of his properties. Since I don't want to get involved in that side of his business, I shall give you the deeds of this house in return of a full non-disclosure agreement, as well as an insurance of no future demands for money or assistance. Please find corresponding documents attached. I read it again and again. The house is mine. Even though Mystery Man had made it sound like it was mine to keep when we first met, I always had it at the back of my mind that one day he might want it back. Now, that worry can disappear. Oh, and he's dead. Such a pity. Should I send flowers? Is that what you do when you didn't kill the person who's died? I should probably feel sad, but I don't. I didn't really know him. He always stayed a mystery. I'm grateful to him, very, but that's not really enough to make me sad, especially when the house is now officially mine. I take a quick look at the contract and papers the daughter sent and sign them straight away. I don't think I'm going to get a better offer. I put the letter on my out tray. Yes, I actually have one, I can't believe it myself, and decide that it's enough office work for one day. I need to do some finances at some point, but not today. I'm in mourning. That's my excuse. The little kitten meows. Yes, I've not forgotten you. I mutter and tickle her head. She immediately starts purring again. Such a cutie. I hear Lily long before she enters the office, without knocking, obviously. "You two are very cute," she says with a look at the kitten in my lap. "Want some catnip?" The kitten stares at her unimpressed, then continues licking my arm. She doesn't know the pleasures of catnip yet. I shall have to introduce her. Although, no, I'd have to share. I'm not the sharing kind, especially when it comes to catnip. That stuff is the food of the prairie gods. Lily is the only one who knows of my slight addiction. Catnip? I ask, pretending to be all cool about it. Where? She laughs evilly. I was kidding. You'll have to get your own. I'm not aiding your drug habit. Not after last time. I'm almost embarrassed about that incident. Almost. In the end, nobody should care about me rolling on the floor with a ball of yarn. While being human. Happens all the time, right? Lily leans against the wall, one of her muddy boots leaving traces on the wallpaper. Before, I wouldn't have cared, but now this is my house, my property. Feet off the walls. I growl, and she raises an eyebrow. What's going on? I shrug. Mystery Man died. This house is mine now. No mud on the walls, no mud on the floor, no blood anywhere besides the basement. Got it? She grins. You own a house? Like an actual person? Like someone who has a job and goes to work and watches TV and doesn't kill people? Seems like it. I just hope that doesn't mean that I have to pay tax and get an insurance and all that crap. Lily laughs. I can't imagine you comparing insurance prices. Ben might enjoy doing that, though. I hadn't realized how much he enjoys numbers until he went through all those Kindler documents. All his. I wonder if there's an insurance against attacks by hordes of enslaved shifters. That might come in handy. Her smile disappears. Do you think the pack is going to attack us? It's always been just a matter of time. I reply with a sigh. I think they knew that I had the support of someone powerful, so they waited until they had more information. Once they find out that Mystery Man has died and that nobody is protecting me, they'll come to get me back. They can't let me make a precedent by escaping their rule. If that news spread, they'd have a rebellion to deal with. Maybe we should be the ones to start it, Lily says thoughtfully. Huh? The rebellion. If you go out in the open, let the pack members know that it's possible to remove their collars and have a life of freedom, you might distract their leaders enough not to come for you. I groan. You sound like Lennox. He wants me to take the fight to the pack as well. Lily grins and pushes herself off the wall. Good. Now, I just need to get the others on my side, and then we'll make you see reason. I don't tell her that I'm tempted by the idea of going against the pack. There are reasons why I shouldn't even consider it. Reasons the others don't know about. By the way, Lily begins and walks over to my desk, leaning forward until I can see her boobs and her devilish smile. What do you want? She flutters her eyelashes at me. Seriously? She should know by now that this isn't the way to sway me. As attractive as she is, she's not my type. So, I know we don't have an employment contract. Do you want a raise? I ask suspiciously, but she shakes her head. A holiday. I think my eyes are about to pop out of their sockets. A holiday? Is there anything more mundane? Why? I ask weakly. I've never had a holiday in all my life, and I was assuming that it was the same for Lily. Even the idea of taking a few days off. Actually, it's very tempting. I'm a business owner, though, self-employed. There are no days off. Death needs to happen regularly. There's a thing I want to go to, she says, evading my eyes. It's, well, it's something I've always wanted to do. Details? I demand, more out of curiosity than being a strict boss. Of course she can have a holiday. I don't really care. Well, I care that she isn't inviting me, but that's another matter. It's a convention, she mutters. For people like me. Poison-loving assassins? Do I really need to spell it out for you? She sighs.
It's a succubi meetup.
I gape at her. Succubi? But you always said they don't exist. Whenever I suggested that you might be an incubus, you lied to me. She shakes her head, still evading my eyes.
Incubus. You've always called me an incubus, and they don't exist. They'd be the male equivalents of a succubus. But they aren't real. Succubi, on the other hand, well, I'm sorry. I'm so used to not telling people, and so, of course, I didn't want to tell you when we first met. And then by the time we became friends, it felt too late.
She finally looks at me, exposing her vulnerability. If I were someone else, I'd give her a hug. Instead, I just stare at her while gathering my thoughts. She's lied to me. But then, so have I. Just like her, I'm used to not telling the truth. Bending it, omitting important details. I shouldn't feel as hurt as I do.
I'm sorry,
she repeats.
I should have told you.
I sigh. It's not like I didn't suspect. I just thought you didn't know or didn't want to admit it to yourself. Lily shakes her head.
I was born into a succubus family, and I went to one of their schools. I was trained to seduce, but I've always been more interested in poisons and assassinations. I dropped out of the academy and turned away from the succubus life, trying to become something else, someone I wanted to be. Not who my upbringing dictated. But I miss my family, and thought it might be a good idea to go to the annual succubus convention.
I give her a small smile. It does sound like something she should do. It sounds way too social for me, but Lily is different. She loves being surrounded by other people, while I have always preferred my own company. If I'm to give you a few days off, you have to answer my questions. I say, my smile turning into a grin. And trust me, I want to learn all there is to know about succubi. Chapter 2. We end up in the living room with 4 packs of crisp and 1 half-empty bag of toffee popcorn. So, there are no male succubi? I ask for the second time. It still boggles my mind.
Nope. Succubi only have female offspring.
Lily repeats.
We use human men to get us pregnant, but then they're no longer needed, and it's all down to the women. Usually, several generations of succubi live together and help look after each other's daughters.
Does that mean you don't know your father?
No idea who he is. He was a sperm donor, basically. I don't really care about who he was, although I'm rather grateful for his good genes. My mom is tiny, so I must get my tallness from him.
And there's actually an academy for succubi? I ask with a laugh. Is it basically one big sex thing? She shakes her head.
Sex is the smallest part of it all. We don't actually need to sleep with the people we feed off. Seduction can be much more efficient. Imagine it as the main course. Play with their feelings, get their hopes up, flirt a little, increase the tension, then fuck them for dessert.
Sounds fun. She grins, reminding me of the predator that she is.
Totally. I may have dropped out of the academy, but I'm an expert at seduction nonetheless. Sadly, it only works on humans. Otherwise, I would have been able to take my holiday without divulging all my secrets.
She winks at me.
Can I go? It's only going to be a couple of days, unless I find some boy toys to play with, obviously. I'm thinking some rich guys to get some money from to repaint my bedroom.
Ugh, again? I groan. You've redecorated that at least 4 times in as many months. Lily shrugs.
I like to change things up a little. Having the same color walls gets boring.
Right now, her room is entirely black with some dark red drapings in the corners. Not really my style. I'd go for all black. The sound of the front door opening interrupts our conversation. I sniff the air. Griffin. His scent is easy to recognize, full of testosterone and suppressed anger. He's a bowstring waiting to snap. I'm going to have to make sure I'm not in the way when it happens. He seems all funny and jovial when he talks to me, but my cat senses keep warning me about the tension in him. There's something he's hiding, and I need to find out what it is. I don't like secrets, at least not when it's other people having them. I'm full of secrets, but that's a good thing. It's boring to tell other people everything about your life. Where's the fun in that? Besides, there are some things I'm not proud of, and that says a lot.
Who is it?
Lily asks, reminding me that she doesn't have the same shifter senses that I have. I'll have to ask her about her succubus skills later on. Is it just seduction, or is there more to it? Me. Griffin enters the room before I can answer. He's all in black, as usual, but rather than having his dark hair in a ponytail or in a bun, it falls onto his shoulders and ends around his collarbones. That answers the question I've had ever since I met him. Yes, his hair is longer than mine. Impressive. It's silkier than mine, too. Mine would probably be shinier if I washed it more often, but my looks aren't very important to me. The dead don't care if their killer wore makeup or had frizzy hair.
I shall leave you to it.
Lily slips out of the door before I can ask her to stay. Damn. I'd hoped not to be alone with Griffin. He makes me feel uneasy. Not in a bad way, necessarily, but I don't know how to act around him. Yes, he makes me insecure. I admit it. Question is how to deal with that. Avoiding being alone with him has worked until now, but with Lily gone, I'll have to woman up and face him. He sits down on the sofa opposite me, then gets up again, removing an empty crisp bag from below his bum. I never claimed that anyone in this house is tidy or cleans up after themselves. Why are you here? I ask, a little surprised at how hostile I sound. I need to tone it down. I don't want him to realize how uncomfortable he makes me feel. I was in the neighborhood and thought I'd pop in. He says with a disarming grin. How are things? I can smell your lie. I retort, giving him a stern stare. Why did you really come? His grin widens. I was bored. I sigh. Lie, again. Tell me the truth or I'll throw you out. I'm busy enough as it is. You're not a very gracious host, you know that, right? I'm not a polite person. I snap back. Now get out before I practice my knife-throwing skills on you. He snickers. Touchy. I guess it might make you happy to hear that I need your help. I raise an eyebrow. You? My help? Griffin laughs. Yes, me. And trust me, this wasn't my idea, but since you're the only assassin who comes close my own level of perfection... Close? I interrupt him. I'm miles better than you. I catch the dart he throws at me just before it pricks my shoulder. Lucky for me, he's not as quick, and my dart nips his chin. A drop of blood falls onto his black shirt. Bingo. Then I realize that we both threw darts at the same time. Like we think in a similar way. Nope, not going down that route. I've worked hard to be different from others, even other assassins. It's the only way to stay unpredictable. Let's hope this was just a coincidence and not the start of a pattern. Poisoned? He asks and sniffs at the dart. No, you'll be fine. I lean back and cross my arms behind my head. What do you need my help with? Now that I've bested him, I feel a lot more confident. He wants my help, which gives me the upper hand. Maybe I'll have him grovel on the floor, kissing my feet. After that, he wouldn't think that he's better than me. It's a girl. He begins, and I stare at him in disbelief. You want dating advice from me? He laughs. No, not that kind of girl. She's definitely not my type. She's too innocent. She's a neighbor, and someone's stolen her necklace. I shake my head. I don't do investigating. That was a one-off. From now on, it's back to killing. No more cases to solve, no more riddles, no more headaches. If you find who the thief is, you get to kill them. He offers. I laugh. I was told the same thing last time, too. If I'd listened, you'd be dead now. He looks a little disappointed. I'm sure I could find some cash if you need a reward. I've got enough dirhams for now, thanks. I'm really not interested. I just want things to go back to how they were. Mindless killing. He smiles knowingly, although the disappointment is still evident in his voice. Exactly. Someone tells me who to kill, I do it. I get paid. Easy. No running around searching for clues, no interrogating, no conspiracies. Just look at the chaos this investigation has left us with. Even now, there are still ends to tie up. No, I don't want this again. Sorry. I smile at him to soften my words a little. I've seen other people do that, so it's worth a try. Not sure why curving your lips has such an effect on people, but oh well. I'm used to not understanding why they behave the way they do. In a perfect world, everyone would just say what they mean and not rely on meaningless gestures and smiles. I'm sure you can find someone else to look into it. He stares at me intently, as if he's deciding whether this is my final word or not. I meet his eyes confidently. I'm not going to back down. I've already given Lily a favor by letting her take a holiday. Now, it's time to be selfish. I've been behaving too human recently. I need to find my inner cat again. Griffin nods curtly and gets up. You know where to find me if you change your mind. He leaves me with a strange feeling. Guilt? Nah, that can't be. There's nothing I should have to feel guilty for. And no, I'm not feeling lonely either. I don't want him to stay and talk and become friends. Not in the slightest. Luckily, a meow distracts me from my thoughts. It's Nyx, her beautiful white fur all silky and shiny. If she was a human, I bet everyone would ask her what kind of product she uses on her hair. Since she's a cat, guess her saliva is particularly good. What's up? I ask her as she rubs against my legs, purring in contentment. Have you been fed? She purrs her affirmation. I'm surprised. In her place, I would have said no to get more food. An honest cat. Who would have thought? Nyx meows and jumps onto the sofa, looking at me expectantly. Ryker? I ask, and she nods. Damn it. I'd hoped I would have more time. I sigh and get up. Of course, Nyx immediately takes my place, stretching out on the warm sofa. Cats. They know how to indulge. Ryker is waiting for me in the backyard. None of the other cats are here. It's just the two of us. He's even more impressive than I remember him. His fur around his neck is so bushy that it resembles a lion's mane. His yellow eyes stare at me with an intensity that makes a shiver run down my back. It's time to face the music. I sigh and shift, my body stretching in ways entirely unnatural. When whiskers pop out of my cheeks, I wipe at them with my oversized paws. It tickles, although I kind of love having whiskers. They add an entirely new sense to the mix. I've been told you want to talk to me, Ryker says in his deep, melodious voice. What's this about? Is he pretending not to know? I thought that he was avoiding me the past few days, but now that he's there, I see no avoidance in those golden eyes of his. On the contrary, he's staring at me with both respect and curiosity. You lied to me. I start, then realize that actually he didn't. Or at least you omitted the truth. His ears flick in confusion. What are you talking about? I keep a lot of secrets as part of looking after my family, but none of them concern you enough to make you this upset. Upset? Well, maybe I am. Shifters should identify themselves to each other. It's easy to spot shifters walking around in their human form, but as animals, they're much harder to find. Right now, so shortly after shifting, other shifters would know because I still smell of human, but after a couple of hours, that scent will have mostly disappeared. What's wrong? Ryker asks again. I don't know how to respond. For once in my life, I'm lost for words. I don't want to lose his support and loyalty, but I also can't stay quiet and just let him get away with it. You didn't tell me what you are, I finally say. It would have been nice to know. He blinks at me. What I am? Isn't it obvious? It wasn't to me. You should have told me. I suppress a growl. He shakes his head. I still don't know what you're talking about. I'm a cat. I thought every idiot could see that. Look, I have a tail. He flicks it in an almost alluring manner. I curse my mind for interpreting his movement in that way. This time, I growl, the sound echoing in the enclosed space. You're not just a cat, though, are you? Instead of explaining himself, he starts to laugh. It's a beautiful and very rare sound. Cats seldom laugh. Their lives are too somber for that. I'm a cat, nothing but a cat. I was born a cat, and I will die a cat. Now, please, explain what the noisy kittens you're on about. Noisy kittens? Of course. Ryker would be too posh to swear. He's that kind of cat. Guess there's no way around it. You're a shifter. I throw at him accusingly. You're like me, and you never said. His laugh stops, and he stares at me, blinking several times. Where on earth did you get that idea? Your blood. Lily tested it, and it shows that you've got the shifter gene. You're the same as me. Now stop denying it and shift. I want to have a proper conversation with you, not this charade you've been keeping up. Ryker takes a step back. His fur gets even more bushy as he takes on a pounce-ready stance. I'm not. He stutters, his confidence all but gone. I'm a cat. He looks down at his paws and extends his claws. See? I'm a cat. I've always been a cat. I'm not like you. I'm a cat. I'm a cat. He continues to repeat it, and that's what convinces me that he really didn't know. I'm good enough at reading both cats and humans to see his confusion for what it is. You're wrong, he mutters. It can't be. I don't know. I don't know what to do. Of all the different scenarios I'd imagined, this wasn't one of them. I'd thought he might deny it, but because he didn't want me to know, not because he didn't have a clue himself. Blood doesn't lie. I say gently. You're a shifter. How can you not know? Your parents must have been shifters. They must have told you? He looks at me, his eyes suddenly filled with sadness. I'm a stray. I grew up on the streets. I never knew my parents. I've never had anything to do with humans or shifters until I met you. I'm a cat, I'm telling you. Take more of my blood. Test it again. The urge to get closer, to rub my body against his in a gesture of comfort, is getting strong. But I resist it. He needs to get through this on his own. I won't be of any help to him. Well, I can already see that I'll need to help him a lot to become a proper shifter. But right in this moment, He needs to deal with reality on his own. We can do that, I reply calmly, but I doubt it will change anything. I've always thought you were too aware, too intelligent for a cat, too empathetic. Normal cats wouldn't start a family and look after abandoned kittens. You doing that is proof that you're not just a cat. You've got a human side to you that we need to explore. We? He asks sharply, but then sighs. I guess you're right. There have been times when I felt out of place, like I was different from the other cats. I ignored it most of the time, but now that I think of it... Without warning, he jumps up the wall. He turns and looks down at me with his intense yellow eyes. I need some time to mull it over. I'll be back. With that, he's gone, leaving me more confused than ever. How the fuck am I going to turn a cat into a shifter? Chapter 3. Life is complicated. Some days, I wish I was nothing but a cat, a panther, whatever. Sunbathing, eating, relaxing, snoozing the day away, hunting butterflies, rubbing against a random stranger's legs, then some more sleeping. Instead, I'm pacing back and forth, trying to sort out my thoughts. I'm alone in the house, and I'm glad about it. I don't want any of the others to see me in this state of confusion. I'm always composed, always got a cool exterior, but now I'm not sure if I want to throw something, kill someone, or eat mountains of ice cream. Probably all three at the same time. Throw ice cream at someone to kill them, then eat it. I'm going crazy, thinking of using ice cream as a murder weapon. How terribly inefficient. Not even a complete beginner would come up with such a rubbish idea. Something's really wrong with me. I need to get back into the zone, get rid of all the confusing thoughts and feelings. I run into my office and take a random file from my stack. I need to kill. It's a simple assassination. A businessman who's got involved with the wrong people. They pay well, it sounds easy enough. They'd prefer poison, but anything goes as long as it doesn't leave a giant mess. No problem. I open the hidden cabinet behind a horrendous painting of a Highland cow. It came with the house, and take some knives and darts. I always have a few poison darts sewn into my clothes anyway, but it's always good to have more than I need. You never know who you might meet out there. Equipped with more knives than most people have in their kitchen drawers, I leave the house, immediately taking to the roofs. It's late afternoon, and not the perfect day for a hit, but I don't want to wait any longer. I need the rush of adrenaline, the feeling of complete control as I make my body jump from roof to roof, balancing along gables as easily as if I was down on solid ground. The fresh air helps calm my mind. It smells like rain. I better get this done soon so I get home before the roofs are too wet to be safe. Even I have limits. To have a good footing on wet tiles, I'd have to shift, but I can't do that in daylight. People might raise an eyebrow at a human running on rooftops, but if they saw a panther, well, it wouldn't end well. My mark lives quite a distance away from the Meow headquarters, and by the time I get there, I feel a lot more like myself. This is routine. Something I'm used to. I know how to act in this situation. Now, all I have to do is scout the area, see if anyone else is in the house, and then do the kill. Easy. I lick my lips as my panther rises to the surface. Maybe I'll be a little more violent than planned. I crouch down on the roof opposite my mark's house, extending my senses. Only one person in the house, so the chances it's the man I want to kill are high. Even if it's someone else, I'm in the kind of mood that doesn't leave survivors. Killing is a great way to soothe a troubled mind. When I've made sure everything is as it should be, I step back a bit to give me space. I take a deep breath, then run and jump off the roof, and right onto the house on the other side of the street. Nothing a human could ever do, but luckily, I'm not human. Never have been, never wanted to be. Despite all the hardship my shifter nature gave me, I wouldn't give it up. And if I had to choose, I'd decide to be a panther, not a human. The roof is in a bad state, and I have a hard time keeping tiles from slipping beneath my feet. Going back to solid ground it is. I don't want to alert my mark by strange noises on his ceiling. With a backflip, I vault myself off the roof until I land on all fours in the small garden. Daisies sprinkle the grass, and their smell fills my nostrils. I smile. Another thing that most humans will never experience. The fragrant smell of daisies. There are noises on the other side of the house, giving me the confidence to stand up tall and pick the lock of the back door. It's an old, rusty lock that gives way without much encouragement. The door opens with a slight squeak that even I can't suppress. Oh well, if the man hears it, I'll just have to confront him face to face. I'd actually prefer that. A bit of combat, panicked yelling, then a well-aimed kick at his throat, or a knife between the ribs. I'd chuckle when I realize how bloodthirsty I am. All this investigating has left me craving for blood. "Hello?" a deep voice calls. Yes, he must have heard the door. Hooray. This is far more exciting than sneaking up on him only to cut his throat in a quick, boring move. I hurry towards the sound. He's in the kitchen, holding a large bread knife. Fun. He's making it a challenge. I grin wolfishly and pull 2 daggers from my belt, lazily flipping them in my hands. His eyes widen. Are you here to kill me?" he asks, gripping his knife a little harder. His knuckles are turning white, and I can smell sweat appearing on his skin. Pathetic. I give him a saucy wink. Yes, I'm your angel of death. His eyes widen. Who are you working for? I have money. I'll pay double what they did. Usually, I might consider this, but not today. I'm not here for money. I'm here for sport. Time to die, I say dramatically, and approach him with the elegance of a predator. Every muscle's movement is carefully controlled. Adrenaline fills me, enough to make me alert, but not enough to make me lose control. "Please, don't," he begs, stumbling backwards, but the counter stops him from retreating further. He does a few helpless stabs with a knife, clearly showing that he's never held a weapon in all his life. Too easy. I'd hoped he'd at least know how to hold a knife. I launch forward, nipping his cheek with my dagger, easily evading his knife. I jump back, letting him realize how I could have killed him, but didn't. He touches his cheek, leaving his fingers stained with blood. "Please," he repeats, his voice whiny and pathetic. I attack again, this time cutting his other cheek. He cries out in panic and pain. This is fun, playing with prey. Again and again, I strike at him until his body is littered with bleeding gashes. Not enough to kill him, but enough to make me happy. Someone enters the house through the back door. I sniff the air without giving away to the mark that he might be in luck. I grin when I smell a familiar scent. Then frown. What is Lennox doing here? "Are you quite done yet?" he asks as soon as he enters the kitchen. I could hear the screams from miles away. I shrug. There are still a few places I haven't heard him yet. "Why are you here?" The man gapes at Lennox, realizing that there's no chance of rescue. "You aren't home, so I followed your tracks. We need to talk." I sigh. I've told you I'm not interested in turning detective again, and I'm not going against the pack either. "It's not that. It's something personal." That has me turn around. Personal? Lennox isn't someone who ever opens up about his feelings. I know him well enough to read him, to know when he's upset, but most people would never be able to tell. My Mark makes a desperate dash for escape, but I throw a knife at him without even looking. From the gurgled squelching sound, I assume that it hit its target. His body crumples to the ground. You interrupted my work, I complain to Lennox. He chuckles. It looked more like fun than work. Has anyone ever told you not to play with your food? I grin at him. You may have mentioned that a couple of times when we were younger, and then did it yourself. I open the fridge and take out a bottle of orange juice. Killing always makes me thirsty. I find some ice cream in the freezer as well, which Lennox immediately takes off me. I sit on the kitchen island, sipping my juice. What's so important that you had to disturb me? I ask, intrigue filling my mind. There has to be a good reason. Assassins never interfere with each other's work unless it's important. It's a sort of unwritten code. We need to talk. I groan. We're talking now. He nods towards the corpse. You want to do this here, with him around? It's not like he's going to hear whatever secrets you have to tell me. Lennox chuckles. You're right. He sighs. I'm having a problem with my wolf. I'm used to Lennox talking about his shifted form as if it's separate from his human. He seems to have a different relationship with it than I have with my panther. We're one. I just turn a little more feral when I'm shifted. I have to admit that it creeps me out a tiny bit, but by now, I'm used to it. What kind of problem? Just spit it out. Lennox averts his eyes. Is he embarrassed? That's a first. I growl at him. He's claimed someone. He says it so fast that I almost don't understand. My heart starts beating faster when the words hit home. Lennox explained it to me long ago. Wolf shifters mate for life, and it's not the human part of them that decides who with. While Lennox could try and resist his wolf, be in a relationship with someone else, his wolf would never stop aching for his mate. Some shifters go crazy when they refuse their wolf. I don't know what to do, Lennox admits quietly. I'm not ready. I don't want to commit to someone I may not even know. But the craving is strong. It fills my thoughts night and day, and resisting it is getting harder. I don't know how much longer I'll be able to withstand it. Who is it? I ask, almost dreading the answer. The reason is something I don't want to think about. I don't know. I'd have to shift to find out, but I don't want to. What if it's a horrible person? What if it's someone in the pack? Or someone twice as old as me? There have even been cases of adult wolves claiming a child, and then having to wait for a decade until they could actually be with their mate. What do you need me to do? There's a reason he came to me with this, and to be honest, I'm flattered that he still trusts me enough to tell me, even after being apart for so many years. It's like we were never apart. I want you to be with me when I shift. Follow me so you can see who my wolf claims. If it's someone you think is bad for me, you need to pull me away, stop me. I've heard stories of our wolves going into a lovesick frenzy when they first meet their mate. I don't want that to happen to me. You need to keep me sane. I nod. I'll do my best, but let me warn you. I may think of someone as not suitable that you might end up loving. He shudders. I don't think I could love anyone. I'm too busy for love. Too damaged. He whispers the last bit. I want to reach out, hug him, tell him that I'm the same. But I don't do touchy-feely. When do you want to do it? I ask. Tonight, after dark. I want to get rid of this feeling as soon as possible. But what if it's your soulmate? If you fall in love at first sight, will you be all right with that? He shakes his head. I don't even want to consider that. I hate how helpless this makes me. How my wolf is taking control and I can't do anything about it. I should be free to decide who I love, right? Nobody should take that decision from me. Not even my wolf. I agree. I'm glad it doesn't work that way for cats. But then, can you imagine a cat being with just one partner for the rest of her life? I chuckle. There's little chance of that. A tiny frown appears on his forehead, but it's gone before I can think on it. Do you think you'll ever settle down? He asks me. I shrug. Maybe. Not really thought about that. I can't really imagine living in a house with a husband, having a mundane life. Who says it would have to be mundane? I laugh. I doubt I'd be with an assassin or someone else in my line of work. Have you seen us? We don't settle down. We don't fall in love. I've never seen an assassin couple, and I doubt I'll ever will. Lennox smiles, but it seems forced. You're right. We're not made for love. Sadly, my wolf thinks otherwise, but maybe he'll decide differently tonight. Maybe he'll reconsider when he sees whatever terrible woman he's chosen. Maybe he'll come to his senses. I take a sip of juice, for once unwilling to tell the truth. I know he's deluding himself, but I don't want him to feel unhappy either. Whatever happens, I'll help him through it. He's my oldest friend, and I'm quite enjoying having him back. Chapter 4. Night falls quickly, covering the town in shades of blue. It's a Friday night, so all the streets are busy with people hoping to forget the stress and troubles of the working week. I can smell the alcohol all around me, still fresh, but about to turn stale. In an hour or two, the first drunks will stumble along the streets, not sure whether they should return home or go back to the pub for another drink. Lennox and I head to the outskirts of town, hoping that his mate will not be in the center of the city where everyone could see him. I doubt he'll have himself fully under control once he shifts today. It's a bit scary, especially because I will have to shift too to keep him in check. A wolf running across town might be just about explainable, but a giant black cat? Huh, not so much. There'd be panic, and the pack would certainly get wind of it. I don't want them to remember that I exist. Ready? I ask Lennox, even though I know that he isn't. I can hear his heartbeat drumming faster than it should. He's anxious. More anxious than I've ever seen him. He shrugs. Let's do this. Better to know than to fight the urge for the rest of my life. But promise me you'll drag me away if my mate isn't suitable. I put one hand on my chest, wiggling my fingers. Shift or promise. He chuckles, probably remembering the time when we came up with that oath. Good. You're larger than me. You'll be able to stop me. Don't take it personal if I fight back. He grins sheepishly. My wolf likes to play. So do I. And don't worry, I've been longing for a challenge like this, especially since you interrupted my killing earlier. He takes a deep breath, and his heartbeat accelerates further. I can't believe we're about to do this. Somehow, I never imagined either of us having a mate. Occasional lovers, yes, but nothing permanent. Now it's about to change, and it makes me feel something that I can't quite identify. Sadness? Jealousy? Longing? I push it away. I need to focus. Lennox needs me. He meets my eyes. I don't like what I see in them. He's scared. And I don't like him being scared. He never shows his fear. He never shows any emotion. Especially not something that could be interpreted as weakness. Shift. I tell him, and let myself fall into my cat form, purring as soon as I'm on all fours. I stretch my back and extend my claws a couple of times. So good. Now to take a nap. Lennox whines. His beautiful white wolf is twitching on the ground. I jump to his side, nudging his flank with my head. I wish I could talk to him, but we're different species, even though we're both shifters. All I can do is try and read his body language. He seems agitated and in pain, rolling around the grass, yelping occasionally. I'd expected him to run to whoever his mate is. This is scaring me. What can I do? I ask in panic, even though I know he can't understand me. He whines again, then gets to all fours for just long enough to take a step back, away from my touch. The pain of rejection runs through me. He doesn't want my help. Why isn't he letting me take some of his hurt? He's suffering, and there's nothing I can do about it. I purr to show him that I want to help and approach him again. This time, not quite touching him. Maybe the touch was uncomfortable for him. Maybe his wolf will only tolerate the touch of his mate just now. Suddenly, he shifts back, but instead of wearing clothes like he usually would, he's naked. He's curled up on the ground, clutching his legs to his chest. I don't know what to do. He's vulnerable, terribly vulnerable, and I hate it. I want to protect him, but I also don't want him to feel like he needs protection. He's a proud man, and an even prouder wolf. Instead of shifting too, I lay down, close enough for him to touch me if he wants to, but far enough to give him space. I want him to know that I'm there for him, that I won't leave, no matter what's happened. Maybe he doesn't have a mate? Maybe something went wrong? I start purring. It always soothes me when a cat does that, so maybe it works the same for him. I listen to his heartbeat, fast and shallow. His breathing is too fast. We lie like that for ages, him curled up into a ball, naked, suffering. Me, shifted, purring, also suffering. We need to talk. He whispers. Can you shift back? Finally, I thought he'd never tell me. I jump to my feet and shift in one fluid motion, being completely human by the time I'm fully standing. As always, I'm wearing the same clothes I did before I shifted, making me very aware of his nakedness. I've never heard of this happening. Even as shifters, our unique magic always makes us keep our clothes. What's wrong? I ask softly, surprising myself. I'm not a soft person. He sits up, exposing his nakedness. I try not to notice how perfect his body is, how his muscles are sculpting his chest into hard planes, how the thin line of dark hair running down from his belly button points to... He's hard. Big. Very hard. Oh my. He crosses his legs and puts his hands in his lap, almost managing to hide his erection. Seeing his discomfort, I take off my jacket and hand it to him. Without meeting my eyes, he takes it and puts it on his lap like a blanket. Suitably covered, his heartbeat slows down a tiny bit, but he's still nervous. What's wrong? I repeat. Talk to me. I can fight it. He mutters. I don't have to give in to my wolf. So you found out who your mate is? I ask excitedly. I wasn't sure if you had. He laughs harshly. I did. He showed me right away. I just don't know what to think of it. Or how to tell you. Just spit it out. That's usually easiest. I quip, hiding the growing tension I feel. He finally looks at me, his eyes meeting mine. they're full of emotions and unspoken words. He's trying to tell me through this look alone, but I don't understand. He showed me my mate. She's right in front of me. My heart explodes. And then I do the stupidest thing ever. I start laughing. Hysterical laughter bubbles from my throat, and I press my hands on my mouth, trying to stop that traitorous sound from escaping. It's no use. I laugh and laugh until I need to stop to breathe. He grimaces. I didn't expect that response. I try to stop. I really do, but the laughter just keeps coming. He gets up, no longer looking at me, and shifts. His white wolf is a light in the dark, a beautiful sight that runs away from me as fast as he can. He could have thrown a knife at me, and it wouldn't have hurt as much. I get up, a little unsteady on my feet. I should stay here. Let him go. Mull it over. But no. I crouch down, shift, and run after him. At the beginning, I track him by his scent, but after a while, I realize where he's going. It's no surprise, really. He always used to go there when we were kids. His hidey hole, his sanctuary. It took him years to take me there for the first time. Even as a child, I understood the significance of that gesture. He'd arrived at the pack before me, and until I became his friend, he'd been on his own. I had been an outcast because I was a different species from everyone else. He was an outcast because he chose to be. Even at a sprint, it takes 10 minutes to leave the town and head towards the little stone bridge spanning the river. It's old and crumbling in places, but it's clung to life for so long that I doubt it will ever collapse. I sniff the air before I approach. He's here. What am I going to say? I don't have any words. No explanations, no words for the emotions raging inside me. I'm so confused, and I bet he is too. Neither of us expected this. He's my friend, not my lover. Definitely not my mate. Yes, I know him better than I know myself, and yes, he's gorgeous, and yes, he would be a better partner than any man I've been with, but he's Lennox. My friend Lennox. If we cross the line of friendship, there may be no return from it. I've only just found him again. I don't want to lose him over something as silly as love. Wait, did I think love? Like being in love? I must be confused. I've never been in love. I'm an assassin. I'm incapable of it. I couldn't do my job otherwise. I start purring to make him aware of my presence. He likely already knows, but I want him to be able to stop me in case he wants to be alone. I'm not sure I'd leave if he asked me to. We need to sort this out. Just as predicted, he's in a hollow under the bridge. I can't believe our old mattress is still here. It's stained and covered in dirt, but even from here, I can smell our scents on it. We used to spend a lot of time here. We'd try to complete our assignments as quickly as possible so we could hang out here without our pack masters missing us. I spent some of the happiest moments of my childhood down here under the bridge. We made it ours. Added some decoration to the bridge walls, carved out more of the hollow when we got too big to fit into it. And now, Lennox is on that old mattress, human, naked, vulnerable. I slowly walk towards him, half expecting him to turn and run again, or to tell me to fuck off. I'd understand. I was an idiot, laughing like that. It must have hurt him. I wish I could take it back. I never stopped purring as I lay down by his side, my fur touching his naked skin. I snuggle against him, but stay shifted. This way, there won't be a conversation. No words that could hurt. Just companionship. Showing him how much I care. How much I like him. After a moment, he wraps his arms around me, his fingers curling into my thick fur. He lays his head onto my back, and I can feel his breath growing slower. His human heartbeat synchronizes with mine until we're merged by touch and sound. Now, I almost wish I could talk to him, but I don't want to interrupt this moment of closeness by shifting. So I continue purring gently, enjoying the feeling of him touching me. We lie like that for ages, his shifter natures keeping him warm, aided by my own body warmth. His nakedness no longer bothers me. "Thank you for coming here," he whispers suddenly, startling me. My purring stops as I listen, waiting for him to say more, but he stays quiet. I extend a paw, careful to keep my claws in, and wrap it around his back. I don't use my full weight. I don't want to hurt him. He's so vulnerable right now, emotionally and physically. "I can still feel it," he mutters after a while. "The pool. Even though you're next to me, my wolf still wants to get even closer. It wants you to shift so I can mate with you." If I were human, I'd blush. Not because of the thought of having sex. It's a natural thing. There's nothing embarrassing about it. No, because of the word mate. It sounds so intimate. Not fucking, mating, lovingly bonding. I'm terrified of it. I don't want this to change things, but I'm not sure if I can fight against the urge forever. Maybe it's better if I leave town. It might be easier if we're far apart. The distance might take the edge off. I shift before I can stop myself. I've never shifted while lying on the ground before, but I no longer have control over my body. The thought of him leaving... "You're naked," he whispers, a barely audible chuckle hiding between his words. "I am," I say, stating the obvious. This is the first time I've ever shifted without clothes before. I hope this is a one-time thing. It would be terribly inconvenient. I'd become known as the naked assassin. "Are you okay with it?" he whispers, his eyes meeting mine. Strangely enough, I am. All doubt has fled my mind. It feels right, his naked skin on mine, his breath entangling with my own. I inch closer to him until our lips are close enough to touch. Just a tiny move, but who's going to do it? Is this right? Moments ago, Lennox was talking about resisting the pull of his mating bond. Now we're entwined, naked, our hearts beating fast. I think I can feel the bond too. Faint, but growing. Or maybe it's my own heart telling me what I should have known before. "There will be no return from this," Lennox whispers, his breath hot against my lips. "I know," I reply, my voice shaking. "Are you sure this isn't just your wolf? If we do this, I need all of you. Both of you." Chapter 5. "I've wanted to do this ever since I saw you outside that house," he whispers. I chuckle. "You mean since you poisoned me?" It's strange to be having a conversation while our lips are hairs width apart. It would be so easy to kiss him, but yet it's so hard at the same time. I'd have to jump over my own shadow, break through the barriers I've built and maintained for so long. When I'm with men, I never kiss them. We fuck, we never see each other again. No feelings, no attachments. Nothing but satisfying the physical itch. I'm a grown woman. I have needs. Luckily, there are lots of men feeling the same way. With Lennox, it's different. With him, there'd be a morning after, having to talk about it, having to analyze my feelings. I don't think I'm ready for it. Lennox, I mutter, but then his lips are on mine, and all doubt flees my mind. His lips are soft, and his kiss is gentle, almost cautious, as if he's afraid that I might pull back. And yes, I'm tempted. My mind is screaming at me to get up and run. This is such a bad idea. Yet his lips. I kiss him back, opening myself to his probing tongue, letting him in. I've never kissed like this before. There's never been emotion involved. With every swipe of his tongue, every touch of his lips on mine, I feel myself getting closer to him. I let my body have free rein, let it move as it wants to. I push back the doubt, the uproar in my mind, concentrating instead on how good it feels, how he's made for me. It's one of the hardest things I've ever done, giving up control, ignoring my rational mind, relaxing, simply enjoying the moment. All of my instincts are fighting me. His hands wander over my body, gently exploring me. We've been friends for so long, but never been this close. It's too late to go back now, so I do the only thing I can. Go with the flow. I end up on top of him, straddling his hips. His hands worship my breasts, leaving me breathless and gasping. Others might call it a moan, but cats don't moan. We might make sounds of pleasure, but not moans. That's for humans who don't have control of their bodies. I can resist. He slips a finger between my lips, and I moan, arching my back, coming undone. What is this man doing to me? I'm afraid that he's breaking barriers that should have stayed untouched. As we cling to each other, merging in new ways, I try to ignore the feeling that I made a massive mistake. We stay together all night, our bodies tangled, one ending where the other begins. I'm itching to get up and run away. It's what I always do when I've had sex with a guy. This is the first time I've stayed. Even slept a little, albeit brief and restless. His arm was around my shoulders, and I couldn't relax with him touching me. I'm not used to being touched. It's both disturbing and beautiful. I wish I were a normal woman, and he a normal guy. Two humans who could love each other, who don't have baggage that makes it impossible for them to be together. I can't do it anymore. I move as slowly as possible, leaving his embrace. I'm sure he knows what I'm doing. The way his breathing has changed means he's awake. He lets me go, though. I shift and run as fast as I can, ignoring the pain in my chest that gets worse the further I get away from him. By the time I get home, my head is slightly clearer, but my chest still aches. Is that a side effect of being his wolf's mate? Or am I somehow imagining this pain? Either way, it's annoying. Look what the cat's dragged in. Beth snickers, surprising me as I walk into the kitchen. Oh my. I really need to focus. Nobody ever manages to sneak up on me like that. Never. Beth seems to come to the same conclusion and looks at me quizzically. Are you ill? She asks, while popping a handful of crisps into her mouth. No, just tired. I mutter and put the kettle on. Tea will cure all my woes, right? That's what they say. Tea is a miracle cure for some completely unscientific reason. Let's hope it works. I can't do my job when I'm feeling like this. Maybe you should take a break, Beth says, chewing loudly. Lily's going to the convention thingy. Why not join her? You could do with a holiday. The way she's all nice and helpful makes me suspicious. So that you can take over the house while we're gone? Invite all your boyfriends and have some kind of poison party? Not poisons, she quips. Body parts, more likely. I've got that new friend who works in the morgue. Lovely guy. Of course, he thinks I'm a timid, innocent girl who's scared of dead people and simply wanted the keys to the morgue as a dare. I snicker. Of course. When are you going to show him that you're not exactly innocent? She shrugs. Who knows? Let's see how he is in bed. Maybe he thinks I'm too innocent to want that, so in that case, I might have to intervene. I pour myself a cup of tea while I listen to her prattling on about that morgue guy. That's how I used to do it. Have some fun with a guy, then drop him. No commitment, no attachment. By the way, the cat has returned. I stare at her, lost in where our conversation has gone. Ryker? She nods. He's in the backyard, as always. Didn't want to come in. I gave him some snacks, but he refused to eat. I guess the whole "you're a shifter" reveal didn't go too well. I sigh. You could say that. And I've done entirely too much peopling today. I'm going to bed. Ignoring her laughter, I head upstairs. I don't feel guilty for ignoring Ryker. It was him who ran away after all. Now he can wait, especially after returning sooner than I thought. I need some time on my own. My attic is nice and quiet. I open the window, then climb onto my hammock, shoes and all. I couldn't care less. I just want to rest. I got some sleep while with Lennox, but no, I won't go there. No more men. Just me, Cat, a lone hunter, an assassin without emotions, a killer trained to murder people without regrets. That's me. Not this strange woman who doesn't know how to react to the men around her. That's not me. Not in the slightest. She's weak. She's confused. In a way, I wish I hadn't met Lennox. Not for a second time, I mean. I treasured the memories I have of us as children, but now that we're both grown up, it's getting complicated. I close my eyes, but sleep won't come. My mind is too busy trying to make sense of everything. I've dealt with dangerous situations, but none of them has ever threatened my heart, my sense of identity. Maybe I should follow Lily's example and go on holiday. Leave the town, leave all the problems behind. Sounds like a great idea, except that I've never been further away than 5 miles down the road, and that I'd miss my job. I've tried going cold turkey, cold cat, before. It doesn't work. After 2 days without killing, I get antsy. It's in my nature to be a predator. I can't just shut it off. But what the fuck am I going to do now? For the first time in my life, I don't have an answer to that. Chapter 6. At some point, I must have fallen asleep. I'm curled up in my hammock, blinking at the afternoon sun streaming through the window. Sounds from downstairs tell me that at least 2 other people are around. Probably Beth and Benjamin. Lily must be gone by now, enjoying her holiday. Pah, not jealous at all. I get up and stretch, purring as my back curves in the most delicious way. I'm tempted to shift just so I can feel the sensation of my claws extending, but that would be a waste of energy. I shifted too often in the past 24 hours, and my body needs a break. It will get painful otherwise. I undress, deciding that I've been in the same clothes for too long. I very rarely sweat, but my clothes tend to get dirty fast from climbing up walls and running over rooftops. Once naked, I stretch again. Nice. That feels even better. Meow. Luckily, I hear the cat approach before it appears in front of my attic window. I groan and quickly grab a towel from the floor, wrapping it around me. I don't like other people seeing me naked. I may be confident in everything else, but nakedness is one thing I can't stand. Except with Lennox, apparently. Ryker's furry face looks through the window just when I'm covered. I thought he was going to be away for a bit. Why is he back now, Has he decided to tell me the truth, that he's been a shifter all his life and just made fun of me? Nah, I saw how shocked he was. It wasn't a prank, no matter how much I wanted it. With a sigh, I open the window. Ryker jumps in with an elegant pounce, landing with his head held high. Such a show-off. He probably doesn't even realize he does it. The arrogance of cats. Hadn't I grown up in the pack, I might be the same. But they made sure none of us got too arrogant. Confident, proud in our abilities, yes, but not arrogant. Why are you here? I ask, not even trying to be polite. He meows again, his voice urgent. He's worried. No, afraid. Fuck. I had not planned to shift for the rest of the day, but the fear in his eyes makes me reconsider. He's not here because he's a shifter. Something must have happened. Turn around, I tell him. He looks at me quizzically, but does as I say. I drop the towel and shift. Ugh, it hurts like hell. I cry out in pain as my bones elongate and fur erupts from my skin. My gums bleed as my teeth change, filling my mouth with the sharp taste of iron. My nails lengthen into claws, and right now, I know why pulling out fingernails is a great torture method. I don't think it's ever been that painful. By the time the shift is over, I'm curled up on the floor, my tail quivering, my body still getting used to the extra appendage. I'm sorry, Ryker says softly. I wouldn't have come if I'd had a choice. Slowly, I sit up, leaning on my forelegs like a sphinx, without the human head. Partial shifts only allow me to lengthen my fingernails as a human, but that's as far as it goes. Some people at the pack were able to do proper partial shifts, having some limbs human and others animal. Not me, though. What's wrong? I groan, my tongue swiping over my sharp teeth. I feel like drinking a bucket full of milk to get rid of the taste of blood. I like to taste other people's blood, but not my own. That feels like cannibalism. Haru and Mila are dead. Pumpkin is gone. 5 other kittens are missing. He blinks at me, his eyes full of fear. I don't know what to do. Wait, start from the beginning. What happened? I came back to our den. Haru and Mila had been in charge of looking after the kittens. They like to get up to all sorts of shenanigans. I grounded Pumpkin because he'd broken into our food stores last night, so he would have been with them. He's a bit too old to stay there usually, but he stares at me in desperation. He's my son. Please, help me find them. The cats are in uproar. Most of them are scared. Nobody has ever infiltrated our home. All of us have escaped awful pass, and the den has been a place of safety until now. Of course I'll help. Do you know if it was humans? Other shifters? Haru and Mila were stabbed with a knife. That's all I know. There were no scents at all. No traces. It's like they appeared out of thin air, took the kittens, and disappeared again. That's impossible. There must be some sort of evidence. Nobody can simply vanish without a trace. Don't you think I haven't checked? Ryker snaps. You're welcome to look and see for yourself. That's why I came here. You're an assassin. You know how to move unseen. Maybe you can spot something I haven't. His voice breaks. Please, it's my son. I get up to all fours, ignoring how my legs are a little shaky. I won't be able to shift back for some time, not without ending up being incapacitated. I extend my senses to check on Benjamin's kittens. If someone is kidnapping baby cats, they could be in danger too. But no, they're all in the room he's turned into his personal cat paradise. Let me tell the others before we go. I say, slowly walking towards the window. I feel like I've run a marathon, then got drunk, then ran another marathon while wearing stilts. Are you all right? He asks, and I put some more effort into the way I walk. I don't want him to think me weak. Too many shifts in the past 24 hours, I explain. I'll have to stay like this for a while. Then how are you going to talk to your humans? I snicker, almost hearing the unspoken pets at the end of his sentence. Most cats don't understand why I bother with humans. They don't understand that half of me is human too, and that two-legged people can come in handy occasionally. Beth and Benjamin are some excellent examples of useful humans. I have my ways, I reply and jump out of the open window, climbing onto the overhanging roof. My muscles complain loudly, but I ignore the pain. It will get better the more I move. Hopefully. Running over the roof into the other side of the house, I jump down onto the wall surrounding our backyard, and then land on the ground. I think a few of my bones are close to shattering. I've been wanting to find a way to change the ladder leading down from my loft so that I can use it in my panther form, but there have always been other priorities. Luckily, the back door has been left open. I'll have to chastise the others for that later, and we sneak in. I can smell Beth in the living room. She doesn't look up from her book when we enter. 100 Deadly Poisons and How to Make Them. Nice. I'll have to borrow that later. Sounds like the perfect bedtime read. I bump against her knee and growl a little, making it very clear that I need her attention. She glowers at me. I'm busy. Get up and get the board. To her, that must sound like a series of loud, intimidating growls. I love it when you speak cat to me. She chuckles, but she does heave herself off the sofa and grabs our whiteboard from the cupboard. She lays it on the carpet in front of me, and I lift a paw, letting her attach a Velcro strap to it. It looks ridiculous, but we've discovered that's the only way I can use a pen while shifted. Bethany clips a large marker pen to my Velcro brace, and I start scribbling away. Even I have trouble reading the result, but luckily Beth is used to my paw writing. Lennox. You want me to get the Lennox? She asks. Why don't you just do it yourself? I growl and nod towards Ryker, who's watching us with growing impatience. Okay, I'll get him. Where shall I send him? I turn to Ryker. Where's the den? Do you really trust the dog? I've never told an outsider about our location. I sigh. Lennox is the best tracker I know. If anyone can find the kittens, it's him. It's painful to admit that Lennox is better at tracking than me. At least I'm better at killing. Much better. Only Griffin gets close to my level of skill. It's in the abandoned chocolate factory. The solar-powered heating still works, so it's the perfect hideout in the winter. Choc fac. Chocolate face? Faces? Bethany grins as if she's proud of that joke. Chocolate factory? But that one's been closed for years. Ryker groans. Is she always that slow? She must be tired. I reply, feeling like I need to apologize for Bethany for some reason. I guess she's part of my team, and I need my team to look good. We have a reputation to lose. Shall I come too? Beth asks. I draw a tick on the board. The more investigators, the better. She won't be able to help with tracking, but she might be able to come in handy with other things. I want to solve this as fast as possible. I've come to like Little Pumpkin, and the thought of him and other kittens being in danger tears at my heartstrings. And Mila, I don't want to think of her as dead. Shara must be heartbroken. The two of them seem to be really in love, judging from the heavy making-out session I interrupted not long ago. I never had much to do with Haru, but I remember him because he looked like an exact copy of myself, just a lot smaller. How's Shara holding up? I ask Ryker. She's run away. Not sure if she'll return. Her and Mila were planning to adopt a kitten soon, and he looks at the ground, hiding his expression. Poor him. 2 of his friends dead, his son and other kittens missing. No wonder Ryker is emotional. I write fast on the board, then hold out my paw for Bethany to remove the Velcro brace. All right, I'll get Lennox and we'll meet you there. Will you shift then and explain what's going on? I shake my head. I won't be able to. Maybe tonight, but not until then. Which is a slight problem. I'm going to have to get to the chocolate factory without being seen. It's the middle of the day, and there will be people all over the place. Humans who wouldn't understand a panther running through the streets. We'll have to stick to the roofs. But I know there are some stretches on the way where there aren't any houses lining the road. Well, I'll just have to be careful. And fast. My muscles groan in protest at that. Suit yourself. She drops her book on the table. I make a mental note to steal it later, and leaves the room with a yawn. Hopefully, she's noticed that time is of the essence. I give Ryker a nod, and we run out of the house, up onto the roof and towards the industrial part of town. We've got kittens to save. Chapter 7. I'm in agony, but I'm trying hard not to show it. Reaching the last few houses before a long stretch of empty grassland is a relief. Jumping from roof to roof isn't good for my aching body. I feel 20 years older than I am. No, make that 30. To distract myself from the pain, I let Ryker catch up with me until we're running side by side. He must have trouble keeping up, being so much smaller than me, but he doesn't complain. How many cats are there? I ask him, not for the first time. Before, he always evaded my question, but now it's essential that I know. If he wants me to investigate this properly, then I need to have all the information. 36. He replies grudgingly. He's out of breath, just like me, but I managed to hide it better. 34, now that Mila and Haru are gone. A somber silence falls between us, interrupted only by the soft pound of our paws hitting the ground and our ragged breaths exploding from our lungs. I feel his sadness, though, and it makes me want to distract him. Call it me being social, or nice. Either sounds like a terrible idea. Who's Pumpkin's mother? Only after asking the question do I realize how that may not have been the right thing to say. I don't need to remind him that Pumpkin is gone, but I've been wondering that for a while now, especially knowing that he's a shifter. Was his mate a cat? A shifter? It can't have been a human since Ryker doesn't know how to shift. I assume Pumpkin won't have enough shifter genes to make him able to shift, but who knows? It would depend on Ryker's parents and on the female who gave birth to Pumpkin. He doesn't answer for quite a while. I almost assume that I won't get a response when he clears his throat. I don't even know her name. She was a drunk one-night stand, and I usually don't do that kind of stuff, but things had happened, and I needed to forget. 12 weeks later, another cat brought Pumpkin to me, and said his mother had died on an overdose. Wait, drunk? Overdose? Are we still talking about cats? He laughs darkly. It seems like you're not as cattish as you think. Fermented apples are great for getting drunk. Pumpkin's mother lived with human junkies, though, and she regularly managed to lick up some leftovers of their drugs. I think they even put vodka in her bowl occasionally. She was an alcoholic, and the only reason I ever slept with her was that she was there in the right place at the right time. Not that I regret it. Pumpkin is the most amazing kitten. That he is, I say, remembering how the little cat first jumped into my life. He's who started it all, my relationship with a strange family of cats. Without him, I might never have solved the Kindler case. My resolve hardens. We need to find him before he's harmed, and the other kittens. People who hurt children are the worst, whether the children are human, shifter, or cats. We're going to find him, I tell him, and it's a promise that I intend to keep, no matter what. And we're going to punish the monsters who took him and the other kittens. We'll make sure Mila and Haru get justice." "You know he admires you," Ryker mutters, and it takes me a moment to realize that he means pumpkin. "He does?" "You're his hero. He kept saying how he wants to be like Kat when he grows up. Solve crime. Help people." If I could blush, I would. That little kitten totally overestimated my humanity. I only solved the Kindler case because I got paid extremely well for it. And helping people, not if I can avoid it. It takes so much time and energy. I'm not altruistic. I'm not a hero. I'm an assassin who branched out into investigating a case a single time. Never again. Well, except for this kitten case, but that's different. I know the cat's involved. It's personal. We run on in silence until we finally reach the abandoned chocolate factory. Its 3 chimneys reach high into the sky, almost seeming to scratch the clouds. I imagine the clouds purring for a second, then decide to focus on what's important. I can't get distracted. Ryker leads me through a hole in the wall that's almost too small for me to squeeze through. It unpleasantly ruffles my fur. Sorry. I'm the largest of us, and I fit." Ryker apologizes. "Are you calling me fat?" He barks out an involuntary laugh. "No, just big-boned." I snort, and for a moment, I forget why we're here. I like Ryker. He's got a wicked sense of humor. He's gorgeous, and he's kind. And I'm totally not interested. The only reason I keep him around is because I need his cats, and because I'm curious about how a shifter couldn't know what he was all his life. Shaking my fur until it aligns in the right way again, I follow Ryker deeper into the factory. Some machinery is still there, strange apparatuses that I don't understand. Once they made chocolate. Now they're just dark shadows in this massive hall. Light streams through a few broken windows, just enough to show the thick layer of dust covering the floor, interspersed only by a path of cat paw prints. The air is thick with the scent of dozens of cats. They've each marked their territory, but the overwhelming scent is that of Ryker. This is home, and he's made sure that everybody knows it. I sniff the air for any human or shifter scents, but all I can smell is cats. There are no footprints either, but that doesn't have to mean that there were no humans. I'm sure there are other ways into this place. The factory is huge. Ryker meows loudly, announcing our presence. I'm sure the other cats knew already, but everyone must be on edge. 3 sets of glowing eyes appear in the shadows to our left. I recognize 2 of their scents before I see them. Storm and Nyx. The latter has been spending a lot of time at my house, playing with Benjamin, letting him spoil her. Her white fur shimmers in the darkness, while I only see Storm's blue eyes. Storm is black as the night, and just as stealthy. She's a great asset, just as much at home in the shadows as I am. She'd make a great assassin if she was a little bigger and had hands to carry weapons. I don't recognize the 3rd cat, but there must be a lot of cats in here who I've not met before. Only some of them came to my headquarters to collect their reward. "What's the situation?" Ryker asks, his voice calm, but I can feel the tension rippling through his body. "Nothing's changed," Storm replies. "We've not been able to find anything that would give us a lead on what happened to the babies. Let's see if the half-cat can do any better." She regards me with an arrogant look. Half-cat? I'm kind of offended. I like to consider myself as a full cat when I'm shifted, and a 3/4 human when I'm not. A human with feline benefits. "That's what they call you," Ryker explains quietly. "Nyx, 2 of the other people who work with Cat will arrive soon. Wait for them outside and lead them here." "More 2-leggers?" the 3rd cat asks. a male with a hoarse voice. "Isn't one enough already?" He's a tabby with patchy stripes, looking rather ordinary. A cat you wouldn't give a second look out in the street, unlike Nyx or Ryker. "They're part of my team," I say sharply. "If you don't want my help, say it now." His spine arches for a moment, then he backs down, coming to his senses before I have to give him a lesson in respecting his betters. I really don't have time to exalt my dominance over Riker's cats. They better just do what I say. "Show me where they were taken," I ask Ryker. He nods gravely and leads me on through another hole in a wall. "We've split our home into several areas. One for storage of supplies, one for the older cats who need some support, a nursery for the kittens, and a few other rooms for us adult cats. Mila was killed outside the nursery, Haru inside. They were trying to defend the kittens." I can almost see the sadness pouring from him. He's trying to keep it together, but cracks are appearing in his armor, letting his emotions leak out. We walk through a room filled with cats, all of them brimming with anxiety and worry. They stare at us, some of them without a spark of hope. They've already given up. It makes me angry. We're going to find those kittens. There's no alternative. And it won't be of any help to have a bunch of sad cats around us. Before we even get to the nursery, Shara's cries shatter the silence. I don't think I've ever heard a cat make these kinds of sounds. Grief, heartbreak, pain. We round a corner, now entering a corridor that would have once housed offices. Shara is on the floor, wrapped around Mila's lifeless body. Her moans echo off the metal walls, amplifying her sorrow. Poor thing. She was in love with Mila. The first lesbian cats I ever came across. They were so cute together, but now one of them is dead, and the other heartbroken. Anger fills me. This isn't right. I'm going to find whoever did this, and then kill them slowly, painfully, rip out their fingernails one by one, pull out their teeth until they're shaking with pain, draw lines on their skin with my sharpest knives. They're going to suffer, just like Shara is suffering. I don't try to talk to her. I know she doesn't care about anything besides her grief just now. Later, I will somehow have to get her to leave Mila's body so that I can examine it. But that's for then, not now. Behind them is a wooden door with a large crack at the bottom, large enough for cats to squeeze through, but definitely too small for me. I sigh and get up on my hind legs, pressing down the door handle. Luckily, it's not locked and opens with a click. Inside, it's carnage. The remains of cushions and blankets are all over the floor, covered in feathers and scraps of fabric. Blood splatters paint the walls to our right, glaring down at Haru's corpse. He's covered in blood, his fur drenched with it. My anger turns into fury. I slowly approach him, sniffing the air for any unusual scents. There's a strange one hidden behind the smell of cats and cat urine. Some of the kittens must have been too young to have full control over their bladder. It's faint, hard to focus on, but it's there, just about. It's familiar, but I don't recognize it, or at least I can't name it. Like a scent from long ago, buried in my memory. Haru is on his side, his eyes closed, his claws fully extended. They're caked in blood. He must have fought for his life, for the life of the kittens. I'll have Beth take a sample to test for DNA. Hopefully, it isn't all his own blood. We don't have a DNA database to test it against, but it would tell us if it was a human or shifter who did this. And maybe I can get Benjamin to break into the police headquarters again and access their lab. No, not maybe. I'll simply order him to. Sometimes I'm still getting used to the whole cat is a business owner with employees. I'd love to shift and examine him with my hands, but I know I can't, not for a while. Despite their size, my paws are able to be delicate when touching things, but I do miss the opposable thumbs. They make my life a lot easier. I'll wait for Beth and Lennox to do it instead. For now, I walk around the room, taking in the scene. A few toys are strewn across the floor, all of them well used. Empty food bowls line one wall, although some of them have been overturned by the kittens or the perpetrator. I keep my nose close to the ground, soaking in every scent I can find. By the time I've circled the room, I've cataloged the scents of the missing kittens. They're easy to separate from the scents of adult cats, which are full of hormones and arrogance. Pumpkin's smell is somewhere in between. A teenager who's slowly starting to come into adulthood. Haru's scent is thick in the air, his blood increasing its potency. Even once his body has been removed, it will be hard to get his scent out of the room. Anything? Ryker asks impatiently once I've circled the nursery a second time. There's that scent, I mutter thoughtfully. It's familiar and yet not. I don't think it's that of a cat, nor that of a human. Something else, something in between. A cat shifter. He sniffs the air. I can't smell it. I shake my head. I doubt it. I don't know of any other cat shifters in this town. And wouldn't you be able to scent them? You can scent me, right? Yes, but your scent is fainter than that of other cats. It's how we recognize you. You smell of humans and a tiny bit of cat. I'm offended. A tiny bit of cat? I'm the biggest cat in the room, and I feel just as catty as they do. Maybe even more so. Just look at my massive body, muscular and strong. My silky fur, my sharp claws. I'm a killing machine, a cat perfected by nature. Don't you have any siblings? Ryker asks. Or parents? I hiss at him before I can stop myself. No, I snap, making it very clear that this conversation is not going to continue. He backs off, bowing his head in submission. Noises in the distance announce Bethany and Lennox. Even though she's better than most humans at walking quietly, she's still making a racket compared to the cats. Lennox earns himself some hisses and growls from Ryker's family. Hopefully, he won't take it personal. Cats and dogs have always been at odds, and even though he's a wolf, that doesn't make much of a difference. The miracle him and I became friends. And now we're... what exactly? Still friends? Fuck buddies? Friends with benefits? Something more? Ugh. I wish I didn't need him for this, but he's a better tracker than I am, and this is about little Pumpkin and other innocent kittens. I need to put my personal issues aside. When they enter the room, Beth sucks in a breath at the sight of Haru. Oh, poor kitty, she mutters before kneeling beside the body. She puts on some gloves and gently examines the deep cut, while Lennox walks around the room. He's human, his muscular body confined by clothes. For a second, I regret that he's not naked as I left him, but then shut those thoughts into a deep, dark corner of my mind. I'm not a cat in heat. I'm a professional. I can work with him, no matter what happened between us. Cat, what happened? Lennox asks, probably expecting me to shift and tell him. She can't shift, Bethany says before I have to resort to charades. I think she's overdone it. Lennox groans. That may be my fault. Sorry. So, 2 cats dead. And from the sense in here, I assume there are more cats that are now dead or missing. I nod. If I could, I'd correct him and tell them that they're not dead, that they aren't allowed to be dead, but I'm stuck with nods and head shakes. My body still hurts, and shifting now would leave me incapacitated for hours. I don't think I've ever regretted sex this much. Cat, do you know the jaguar shifter? Her scent seems familiar. Jaguar. I freeze. Fuck! I should have recognized it. I'm a jaguar myself, after all. In a way. I prefer to call myself a panther, since I'm all black with no spots, but I know that technically I'm a jaguar. I dimly remember that my father was a panther, and my mother a spotted jaguar. That's pretty much the only thing I remember about them. And now that Linux has said that... Yes, I know the scent. I do recognize it. Even though my subconscious has been trying hard for the past few minutes to fool me, I remember the scent. From long ago. So long that it's been just a faint memory that I almost forgot. Fuck, fuck, fuck! I run out of the room, ignoring Ryker's calls, ignoring the cats that jump up as I run past them. My mother is back. And she's a cat killer.